Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Catholic Citizen. My name is Peter Range. I'm your host week in and week out, bringing you the news from a Catholic perspective to inform, entertain, and keep you fired up to fight for the culture of life that we all so desire. So thank you for joining me this week on the Catholic Citizen. We're talking about reasons for hope. A military man who got fired for speaking the truth. And lastly, you're going to want to stick around for the end of the show. I want to tell you about a man named Steventhen Holland. It's going to blow you away in just a minute. All right, folks, we're back on the show. It's so great to have you with us week in and week out as we share the good news of Jesus Christ, because at the end of the day, that's what this show is all about. We want you to come to know, love, and serve Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, because He is the reason for our hope. So no matter what happens ultimately at the Supreme Court or at the state levels with our laws, although those are incredibly important, what ultimately matters is that we love. We love like Jesus Christ. Friends, first and foremost, please join us and support us in trying to get out this great content. Go to awakencatholic.org/donate. Help us present the beauty through truth and present the truth through beauty. Join us at awakencatholic.org/donate. Secondly, there's a great app as well that we have a growing number of individuals who are joining just to share their life and help each other become the saints we've been called to be. Please download the Awaken Catholic app today. Lastly, we can't do a show without supporting Casa Bea Cleaning. Whether that's your home or your place of work, Casa Bea Cleaning is the place you need to go to help you remain completely COVID-free and everything completely just perfect. Casa Bea Cleaning, please support them and patron them because they support and patron us as well. Also, I can't forget to mention that tonight there is a YB Catholic event with Jason Everett at the Pinnacle. Please just come. Tickets are at awakencatholic.org, but you can also just walk up to the door and buy a ticket. It's going to be fantastic. And then tomorrow, Jason is also speaking at Sex, Love, and Pornography. We have to talk about this issue. It's really foundational in building strong families. So join us at St. Aloysius Parish tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. And now let's get to the show. You know, St. John, at the end of his life, it was rumored and passed down through the centuries that St. John was not able to speak at the end of his life. The apostle who was at the cross, the apostle who wrote the book of John, the apostle that wrote the book of Revelations. But there was one thing that he could say as he was carried into the church services week in and week out. And that one thing that he could say was, love little children, love. What a message for us in our culture and society today to truly love. And love isn't just, simply accepting everybody, whatever they want to do. If they want to live a certain lifestyle, they want to make mistakes, they want to kill people, we just love them. No, it means speaking the truth into their lives, that God has given us rules and commandments that enable us to live with the fullness of joy and life. Love involves truth. It has to. So that's our main aim and purpose with this show, is helping you be a good citizen, a citizen of love. That means someone who will care for others, care for the poor, but also speak truth in the public square, because the truth matters. Marriage matters. What marriage is, the sanctity and dignity of human life matters for our culture and our society. But there are some reasons for hope outside of Jesus Christ. I mean, it all emanates from Jesus Christ, but coming up, the Supreme Court has announced this Monday that they're going to hear a case involving a Mississippi law that banned abortion after 15 weeks. This is huge. The Supreme Court has not heard a case of this nature for many years now. And the fact that they're taking up this case, they're looking at the fact of whether or not states have the right to limit abortion pre-viability. So viability is around 22, 23 weeks where a child can survive outside the womb. Of course, Roe v. Wade, that was one of the markers of the case to say, that if the child was viable outside the womb, then you can limit those types of abortion. Well, viability has continued to decrease through the years as science has increased, basically rendering, Roe v. Wade null and void in the context of, well, is a human life and human person deserve deserving of life, here at 22 weeks, but then the next week at 21 or the week preceding at 21 weeks, it's not. It just simply doesn't make sense, especially as science continues to advance. Now, there's a lot of people out there, especially on the pro-choice side, who are trying to raise money and funds, saying that this is an extreme law at 15 weeks, this Mississippi law, and they can't believe the Supreme Court is hearing this. Well, folks, 90% of countries worldwide have laws limiting abortion at 15 weeks or earlier, like Mississippi's. Even progressive Europe, they have laws limiting abortions at 15 weeks or even less in some cases. This is not extreme. The United States abortion laws right now are, in fact, extreme. We're one of only 4 countries, along with China and North Korea, that allow abortions as far as we do, through all 9 months of pregnancy in some states. Think of New York State, for example. So number one, the Mississippi law, it protects unborn children, okay? At 15 weeks, unborn babies have a heartbeat. They can move around and kick. They can sense movement outside the womb. They taste what the mom eats. They open and close their fingers, and they even hiccup. They can also likely sense pain, which is undoubtedly what an abortion inflicts when it requires the unborn baby to be crushed and torn apart after 15 weeks to make that abortion happen. That has no place, folks, in civilized society, but that's what we're doing right here in the United States of America. And hopefully, the Supreme Court will end this madness and strike at the heart of the ruling of Roe v. Wade. All right, number 2, way to go, Texas. So proud of the Lone Star State because they just passed the heartbeat bill into law, which is something that Ohio, of course, passed as well, and many other states as a pro-life tactic, if you will, to raise awareness of the humanity of the unborn, have passed these laws which end abortion around 6 to 8 weeks whenever you can detect the heartbeat. Now, an interesting twist to this particular law in Texas, they made it so it cannot be enforced actually by the state. You know, a lot of times when these laws are passed, immediately Planned Parenthood sues and they're in the courts. So even the Ohio heartbeat law, for example, right now, it's in the states or it's in the courts. They're working through it. So it's not actually the law of the land right now. But the Texas law, interestingly enough, is actually enforced by private citizens. So private citizens can sue an abortion clinic if they perform an abortion after the heartbeat has been detected. So it makes it so that Planned Parenthood can't simply just jump in and sue and end this law because they have to sit back and wait for a lawsuit to actually come about. We'll see if it works, but I think it's an interesting strategy. And if it does anything else, it moves the ball forward, and we need to be moving the ball forward in the fight for life. And if you haven't seen Texas Governor Abbott talk about signing the law, I mean, it'll give you goosebumps. He's talking about in the Lone Star State, they're defending life. And so hopefully the next bill that they go after, the next bill we go after here in the state of Ohio is a Life at Conception Act. Defending life from the moment of conception. It's only the logical place to draw the line. When does human life begin? Scientifically speaking, at the moment of conception. We're a unique human being. The 23 chromosomes from the mom and the 23 from the dad make a unique human being that the world has never seen before and never will see ever again. That's including you. Folks, this show isn't just about saving the unborn or caring for the poor. It's about caring for you, helping you realize the dignity, the inherent dignity that you possess, made in the image and likeness of God. You have a nature which surpasses understanding. You are made beautiful, powerful. You're more powerful than the angels being made in the image and likeness of God. Claim that identity, claim that power that is given to you through your baptism in Jesus Christ. You have been clothed with a new spirit. You don't have to fear deadly poisons or deadly viruses because you walk with the Spirit of Christ within you, the Spirit that was raised from the dead. So we cannot be a church of fear in any way, shape, or form. All right. Third story. I get off track sometimes. I get fired up. Fired from the U.S. military. A commander of the U.S. Space Force unit tasked with detecting ballistic missile launches has been fired for comments made during a podcast promoting his new book, which claims Marxist ideologies are becoming prevalent in the U.S. military. Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer, commander of the 11th Space Warning Squadron at Buckley Air Force Base in Colorado, was relieved of his duties this post last Friday. The head of Space Operations Command over a loss of confidence in his ability to lead. That's what they said. The colonel, in response, said, "My intent never was to engage in partisan politics. I've written a book about particular political ideology, Marxism, in the hope that our Defense Department might return to being politically nonpartisan in the future, as it has honorably done throughout its history," he said. So in short, Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer was fired for speaking out about Marxism in the military, in particularly looking at critical race theory, which we've talked about on the show before, which blames basically white people for all the problems of the country and really the world. He was fired for bringing attention to that reality. And that's what's being taught in our military, and that now with President Joe Biden is being taught now in our government institutions once again. The 1776 Project that President Trump commissioned, and now many people have picked up, and they're using that actually to return to look at the foundational roots of our nation and where these ideas came from, that all men were created equal. Just started by my friend John Jacobowski here in Wood County. A hit piece was just put on him in the BG Independent News, talking about, it was just a bunch of old white men, almost making it sound like it was a KKK rally or something like that. People who just wanted to look at the foundation of our countries compared to what we're being taught now by the 1619 Project, which is, again, saying the country is all simply built on slavery and so on and so forth. Folks, some of the first people who lived in this country were abolitionists fighting to end the slave trade. And that proud tradition led us as a country to be a part. Look, every nation in the history of the world had slavery. It's awful. It's terrible. It includes the United States of America. That's a great sin on our past. But what countries fought to end it? That's ours. We fought to end it. And we fought such a bloody battle that hundreds of thousands of Americans on our own soil bled to free the slaves. And we did it. And we became the most prosperous nation on the history of the planet for every single person of every single color, of every single nationality and ethnicity. That's why people are still dying to get into this country. That they risk life and limb to cross our southern border. They risk life and limb to go across oceans to get to the United States of America. Do you think they're doing that because we're a racist country? No, they're doing that because we're the land of the free. We're the land of opportunity. And there's still nations on this earth that practice slavery. And we work as a nation to free people. But we're being told in our institutions, including our military members who fight for our country, that, you know what? Our nation's really just built on slavery. It's built on racism. That's what's being taught to our schools, to our military members. And when someone speaks up now, they're fired or they're banned or they're canceled by our culture. Well, so what? You can cancel us all you want. We're still going to preach the truth that, yes, racism and slavery, it's a part of our nation. It's a great wound in our nation that we have to face up to. We have to continue to dialogue about it. I've had friends who've experienced racism firsthand. Look, we know it's there, but it is not the founding mark on our nation. It is not the defining characteristic of our nation today. No, rather, goodness, freedom, liberty, and being made in the image and likeness of God, endowed with certain unalienable rights, including the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what's at the core of our nation. That's what's at the heart of our nation. And it's still worth fighting for. I was talking with Bob Latham, congressman here from this district last night. And you look at the fall of Rome, he was telling me, and so many of the things that was happening in Rome is happening right here in our country today. But we can't stop fighting. We can't go down without a fight. Those bigger questions, whether or not we're an empire on decline, if you will, it's out of our hands. But what is in our hands is what we can do on a daily basis with our friends, our families, and our spheres of influence to fight for goodness, for truth, and for beauty. And that's what we're doing here at Awaken Catholic. All right, story number 4. Ozarks are suing President Biden. President Biden took office earlier this year. He didn't waste any time implementing policies that threaten our most basic freedoms. Case in point, on his very first day in office, President Biden issued an executive order redefining sex to include sexual orientation and gender identity. Now, this has various and also concerning implications, and this is one of them with the College of the Ozarks. One of those implications became reality just 3 weeks later when the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, so they took this directive of President Biden, what'd they do with it? Well, they issued a rule change. And under their new rules, religious schools are forced to open their sex-specific dormitories, including dorm rooms and showers, to members of the opposite sex. So, those who are Catholic and even a little bit more liberal, they say, well, this is good. We want to fight for, sexual inclusion and sexual equality and so on and so forth. And who are you to discriminate against others? Well, we don't realize that these laws and rules have implications that force a radical ideology on the rest of the country, including if you're a young woman that want to live in a same-sex dorm and maybe say you've even been abused in your lifetime, and you feel more comfortably around people of the same sex, now being forced in your dormitory is males. And it's not just males living on the same floor with you, mind you, but those same males under these rules, under the housing urban development rules, they get to be in the same shower facilities with you. They get to be in the same bathrooms with you. Does this make sense, friends? But these are the rules coming down for the administration, being forced upon the rest of us, that men should be allowed in the same shower facilities, the same bathrooms, because of sexual orientation or gender identity rules and implications coming from the Housing and Urban Development Department. So the College of Ozarks, founded in 1906, said no, and they're suing. This is labeled by the Wall Street Journal in 1973 as Hard Work U. The students there, the Ozarks, actually pay for their tuition. They work, and that pays off their tuition. It's fantastic. But they're saying, no, we're not going to do this. So Alliance Defending Freedom filed a lawsuit on behalf of the College of Ozarks in April 2021. Pray that they will win this case. All I got to say is go get them, Ozarks. They'll win. They'll win because this is absolutely ridiculous that the administration is trying to force on this. But you know what would make it easier for us to win on our side, guys? 2022, the upcoming elections. Vote out every single individual who believes these absolutely crazy ideas and support the administration. And in 2024, vote for the pro-life candidate. Vote for the candidate who believes that people are actually made male and female, as science teaches us. Vote for the candidate that believes in religious freedom, that rules should not be enforced upon us from the federal government. Vote for that candidate. All right, last story. Steventhen Holland. Go check him out at steventhen.com. Steventhen got his name. His mother was actually mentally challenged, and so she was trying to say Steventhen then Williams. Name him Stephen then Williams, but the person writing down took it as Steventhen. So I've never heard of anyone called Steventhen before, but that's his name. And if you're looking for a little inspiration, go look up his story. He's a speaker, worship leader, author, and founder of Broken But Not Dead Ministries. Excuse me. Steventhen is black, was adopted, though, by a loving white family. His father was actually a coal miner, and his mother loved him despite the doctors believing he would never make it as a baby. So he was so sick, he was given to his adoptive parents, and they had to literally put milk into his mouth because he wasn't taking it. From the bottle, he wasn't taking it from breastfeeding or anything. So just had to force milk to get him to survive. And his father, who was a coal miner, Steventhen was joking last night when I heard him speak that his father was a coal miner. He always thought his father was black because he always came home and he was just covered in the soot from the coal. So he was black himself. But to nurse him to health, his mother would put the milk in his mouth and his father would hold him on his bare chest to nurse him to health. And it worked. Steventhen grew healthy. But at 6 months, he was going to be taken from his home because where he lived in the South at the time, they weren't very comfortable. Again, recognizing that racism is a part of our country. the story shows that they were going to take him because he was a black child with a white family. So family services at the time in this particular state was going to take him away from the family. Well, the family rallied around and said, absolutely not. The father actually put a shotgun by the back door and said, over my dead body, right? Well, the family, the church, the community, they wrote over 80 letters to family services and said, we are here to love this child, to support the child, and care for him. And family services backed down, and Steventhen grew up in this wonderful, loving family. But at the age of 27, he thought it was time to reunite with his birth mother. And so he went to look for her. So Steventhen found out that his mom was actually white and was one of 6 kids, 5 of whom were mentally challenged. So Stephen Birth's mom was actually one of those children that was mentally challenged. So again, Steventhen's mom was white. His father was black. And he found out about a story from talking from his uncle. When Steventhen's mom was 18, she was actually living in a mental institution. And she had basically the cognitive abilities of an 11-year-old, even though that she was 18. So she was allowed to leave this mental facility on a daily basis to go and do some simple work to kind of, earn a living and learn to live a little bit independently. And then she would return every day back to the facility. One day, in returning back to the facility, she was raped. Raped by 5 men, in fact. She became pregnant from that rape. And that pregnancy was Steventhen. That baby was Steventhen. Now, when she got back to the facility, she didn't tell anybody about it, obviously being very embarrassed, not even knowing kind of what took place to her. But the facility, now again, this is a state institution, so you can imagine what they're pushing upon her. But, they were telling her, you need to abort this child. So she ran away from the facility, ended up being a homeless woman in Tennessee, was discovered 9 months pregnant, living in the back of a shop in a box. 9 months pregnant. And a 16-year-old boy finds her when she's 18 years old, 9 months pregnant, living in a box in the back of a store. The 16-year-old boy sees that she's in bad condition. And so he goes and he picks her up and he carries her home. The family takes the mom and the unborn child, Steventhen, to the hospital. And Steventhen is born. The mom decides that she wants to make an adoption plan, and Steventhen is then adopted. 27 years later, Steventhen got to meet his mom. And they hugged and they embraced. And Steventhen was able to thank her for choosing life. An 18-year-old mentally challenged woman who was raped, brutally raped by multiple men, pressured by the facility she was living in to kill her child. And a young lady with an 11-year-old mental capacity fights for her unborn child. My dad used to quote a Chinese proverb that said, it's better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. My friends, today, let's let the light of Christ shine. Let's light our candles. And let's not curse the darkness. Let's cast it out. We'll see you next week on The Catholic Citizen.
This show and all media on Awaken Catholic is made possible by the Awaken Nation and the Hallow app. The Awaken Nation is a community of people like you who support all things Awaken for as cheap as a cup of coffee a week and get access to exclusive content. Learn more by visiting awakencatholic.org/donate. Hallow is the only audio-guided Catholic prayer app focused on contemplative prayer and traditional Catholic meditation such as Lectio Divina, Daily Examen, and the Rosary. We here at Awaken all use Hallow every day and love it. To learn more or give it a try, visit hallow.app/awaken.